We start to turn the page from week 2 to week 3. Up next, the winless Jacksonville Jaguars. Is it a trap? And why you shouldn't be concerned that week 3 is a trap game. It's Bo, it's Alex, it's Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Fired up, rise up, Red Sea. It's Locked On Cardinals, Bo, Brack, Alex Clancy. We've got a fun podcast on tap for you today, which is brought to you by the all-new revamped Locked On NFL Draft with your new host, Eric Crocker and Ryan Tracy. Crocker brings the player scouting, Tracy brings the analytics, and it's a must-listen-to podcast. Check it out today, the Locked On NFL Draft podcast on YouTube or the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast. So we're getting into this game, the 0-2 Jacksonville Jags. You've got Trevor Lawrence, turnover machine so far through 2 games as the number 1 overall pick out of Clemson. Urban Meyer, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find if the guy's ever lost 3 games in a row, but he's 0-2 right now as Jags head coach. It's Bo Brack, it's Alex Clancy, it's Locked On Cardinals, at Locked On AZ Cards, at BOBRACK, and at Clancy's Corner. And I'd be remiss not to say, join us as a subscriber on YouTube as we quickly approach 1,000 subscribers. Unbelievable. Couldn't have done it, obviously, without you all who tune in and watch and spread the word. It's been an awesome ride, and we're only 2 weeks into the NFL season. Incredible,
yeah,
Alex.
I mean, we've been up on YouTube officially. So we had a small stint. It was kind of the appy for the main course. We're put on hiatus for a little bit, and we've been, for 3 months at most. And we really, seriously, I mean, we truly appreciate everybody that comments, negative, positive. Thank you for watching. Like, seriously, Bo was pretty much with me from the beginning. The first year I was on Bet Online. Locked On was just a blip on the radar. It was slowly building, slowly starting to get the bedrock for the foundation. And Bo really joined me in 2018 when it started to really gain some momentum. And then, all the way to here, it's been a wild ride. Thank you to everybody who's been a part of it.
No doubt about it. And we're starting to see this team turn the corner. I mean, where we started 2018, one of the worst seasons in franchise history, and it's just been a slow rise. It's been, that methodical move from the basement to potentially contention here in the 2021 season. The Arizona Cardinals have a lot of business to get done between now and then. Where are they as far as the NFL power rankings? We have our Locked On Podcast Network power rankings that we're going to give you each and every week. The Arizona Cardinals, are they too high? Are they too low? Who's in front of them? I think that there's lots of fodder here that we're going to get into. Also, I've got ESPN's power rankings, and they're pretty similar to what we had as far as the Locked On Podcast Network. And then a big concern from Sunday's win over the Minnesota Vikings. There's one player of concern after I looked at the film from Sunday. But and then, of course, there's a lot not to be concerned about. Some interesting tidbits about rookie wide receiver Rondale Moore, who, Alex, Steve Keim, it's not for trying, right? He's not short on trying. He went after a wide receiver in the second round quite often. Mm-hmm. Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, and then Rondale Moore. He's got him rolling. Yeah.
And I feel like I know who you're going to talk about. I think it's going to be on the defensive side. It's also going to be a younger player that we'll hit a little bit later. But, I mean, Rondale Moore, grading on a curve, removing Kyler Murray from the conversation, he's the most exciting part of the 2021 season so far. I mean, even what we saw in the first week, it's like the dude can play ball at this level. He makes fast people look not fast. That's one of my favorite. I can't remember what the movie is. He makes fast people look not fast. I mean, what we saw and then week 2 with the week 2, what got me with him, it wasn't a long touchdown catch because I could have caught that and ran on the end zone from how wide open he was, but it was setting up the 62-yard field goal from Matt Prater where he dipsy-doodled around 3 defenders, wasn't touched, and got out of bounds with 1 second left, with set up the 3 points the Cardinals needed to win. I mean, it's wild, and I'm really excited for him, and I'm hoping this is only the beginning,
speaking of that, and after this, we'll probably have no reason to talk about P3, Petty Patrick Peterson, again on this podcast. We had some fun with it last week, but according to Adam Patrick, who covers the Vikings, and he also covers the Arizona Cardinals as well, but he listened to the All Things Covered podcast earlier this week from Patrick Peterson. I know this is going to shock you, Alex, that Peterson went on to defend himself against the wide open touchdown from Rondale Moore and said it wasn't on him. It was his job to stay with DeAndre Hopkins.
Really good leadership there, because they brought him in for leadership, right? Throwing him under the bus right away. Like, he's like an independent contractor at this point. He's Kawhi Leonard. He's just like, I don't care. I'm going to come in. I'm going to make money. I'm going to do my job, we think. And he's going to, he was brought in for leadership, correct?
I would
or
think.
to at least be part of the leadership group for the secondary. What a dumb thing to say.
Seriously, just let it go. Just let it go. You can't avoid when Nook, put his foot in the dirt and went the opposite way and left you in the dust, on the first touchdown of the game. So, you might not have been fully accountable for that, but you were part of the problem on that play. I mean, it was busted coverage. It was busted all over the board. Nobody in the NFL should get college wide open in this league, and he did. And Patrick Peterson, of course, trying to defend himself and pass blame. But Rondale Moore, according to the team, he only is behind Anquan Bolden, who has the most receiving yards in his first two career games. Bolden just a nuts 279 receiving yards in 2003. And then, but then Rondale Moore, I noticed that he was second in yak yards, only behind Deebo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers, and of course the Yak Bros. He's just 1 yard behind, 156 to 155.
Let me just put a button on the Patrick Peterson thing that we can finally move on from this.
Right.
This stuff doesn't start when you're 30. So if you think that he was this great leader, I put out on Twitter right when J.J. Watt had Zaven Collins rolled down the fairway when he forgot breakfast early on when they were playing golf, that J.J. Watt's already a better leader than Patrick Peterson has ever been. Case in point, this doesn't start when you're 30. So just because we didn't see it, and just because he's so great off the field, charitable, which is great, and obviously we're not attacking him as a person, I'm attacking him as an employee, this is something that doesn't come out of nowhere. So maybe this will open the light up a little bit to how people see Patrick Peterson as this perfect player who is completely, misrepresented and wasn't appreciated. He requested a trade, he cheated, and then he stunk. Okay, that's the trifecta for not getting getting another contract. And we saw him right now with the aftershocks of what we probably didn't see when he was here in Phoenix. I'm sorry. I mean,
wasn't it like the perfect homecoming for P3? Like in hindsight, and now that like the shock of Greg Joseph missing the field goal, and that
feels pretty good still.
Would have very well been a loss. Isn't in hindsight, it's like, okay, they got the win. It's a tough pill to swallow for the Vikings because he played pretty very well. And then also you got, Patrick Peterson back here, backpedaling, not on receivers, but backpedaling on his performance where, according to Pro Football Talk, perfect passer rating from Kyler Murray when throwing towards P3 and giving up 2 touchdowns, 1 huge play, 77 yards to Rondale Moore. It
Good
was
riddance.
You couldn't find a better return
That's
for a
true.
guy who chirp all off season long. It's Bo, it's Alex, it's Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day at BOBRACK. You follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner, follow Alex, and of course follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. That number's going up just as much as YouTube subscribers. We appreciate anybody who's following us on Twitter. Great content on a daily basis on both of those, our Twitter account and our YouTube site. Coming up next, a player I'm concerned about. Obviously, it wasn't Rondale Moore. It's on the defensive side of the football. We start to turn the page to week 3. Got to avoid a trap game. It's not going to be a trap, Alex.
Yeah. I don't know why I got so pissed off at Patrick Peterson. That was just close the box and let's move on from Patrick Peterson. Finally. All right. There's one thing that is perfect, just like Patrick Peterson's passer rating against, but in a positive way. It's betonline.ag and the experience that you'll get visiting that glorious website. We're back and better than ever. So are they. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back to start another football season. So you've heard us talk about them a lot. Okay, they've got a new updated site and interface. They've got more odds, props, contest, everything. BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Go to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use promo code NFL100. Football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorites Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Again, 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit with promo code NFL100. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
Cardinals fans, we have an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Unless you're riding a bike, you need to know about this app. Get Upside. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. Get up to 50% per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making up as much as $200, $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. Get 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. That's a sweet deal for people that drive a lot. That's you can make a lot of cash back with the Get Upside app. Did you notice? I put this out on Twitter. Maxx Williams, the Arizona Cardinals tight end. Remember, we were all up in arms all off season long. What are the Arizona Cardinals doing at tight end? What are they doing for playmaking tight end? We know about his blocking prowess, Maxx Williams. He's been there in the last couple seasons. But who's going to catch the football? Maxx Williams went over 90 yards. He had 7 catches. He had a unbelievable lucky catch, right? That went for 30 plus yards in that contest. He has more receptions and receiving yards through 2 weeks than former Arizona Cardinals tight end Dan Arnold does in Carolina.
Listen, ask Saints fans what they think about Dan Arnold on the field, not as a person on the field. Because what we saw, Bo, was last year when the Cardinals needed him to make catches and needed him to not fumble Ruski the ball away. He did. And
it's so much an indictment on Arnold.
But the thing is with Maxx Williams, and you're right, that's a fun stat through 2 weeks because Max Arnold had 80 catches in his career before Sunday, or 79 before Sunday. Yeah. Now, that's cool. The interesting part is, can he do it again, 50% every game? Can you get 35 yards out of your tight end? Can you make the defense in the middle of the field a little bit more honest, having to look at the tight end as well as potentially 4 wide receivers depending on the set? Do you think that there's something here? I know we're going to get to a bugaboo here for the Cardinals on the defensive side. Do you think that there's a chance that this was the plan all along?
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of things that they had planned on that we perceived as naive. The cornerback room, the tight end room, the running backs. That, week 1 it worked out well for the defensive secondary. Week 2 it worked out well for the tight ends, and I think people aren't completely up in arms about the run game. Of course, we wanted to see it executed a lot better at the end of that game to put it away. But yeah, I think that this team believed in some guys that they had in the facility, and Maxx Williams is one of them. I think that I don't think it's going to hold up. I think Dan Arnold probably will pass Maxx Williams eventually. But it's interesting because when you look at how things were going on Sunday and how Kyler Murray was distributing the football and having success finding guys outside of DeAndre Hopkins, and it was Rondale Moore, it was Christian Kirk, it was AJ Green. It's just going to open up things where there's not going to be enough hats to put on hats, and Maxx Williams is just going to be wide open, and anybody can make that play. You like to make the joke like you or I could do it. You or I could do it with that kind of those weapons around Kyler Murray.
Yeah. And I've compared, and I know that it's not a direct comparison, but I've said it before, what San Francisco does with Kyle Juszczyk is genius. And I know he's a fullback. I know he's not a tight end. Kyle Juszczyk is much more athletic. He's quicker than Maxx Williams, but he's the last guy anybody on the field thinks of. Ever. Whether he's, lined up as a fullback and blocking and then, going out to the flat, scoring a touchdown, what he does is a wrinkle that nobody thinks about. And that's what we've seen with Christian Kirk. He's going to be the forgotten guy, at least until he continues to produce the way he does. And if Rondale Moore takes over, there's going to be some guys, the defense is going to be like, you know what? We're going to forget about him for this specific play, and that's the play that goes off for 80 yards. So it's just interesting. I mean, and again, it's probably much ado about nothing. This was probably an outlier because we've seen his multi-year career. This has never been a thing, but it'll be interesting to see if they're like, oh, maybe we found something here. Maybe.
Yeah. I think it was like Robert Awalt, who was the last Cardinals tight end to have a 100-yard receiving game. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. We'd have to fact check that. So there is a player I'm concerned about. It's on the defensive side of the football. It's not one of your. It's a pretty big name. It's your first round pick. It's Zaven Collins. I was watching the film from Sunday, and the Vikings were doing a good job in just taking him completely out of play. Like he had 2 good pass breakups. You saw an uptick as far as his snaps. I think he played 25 snaps instead of 21 snaps. It was 41% of the time the defensive snaps he was on the field. But there were drives where he was just completely getting blocked out of the play, and it was just taking one offensive blocker to take him out of the play. I think he just would like to see more because you thought, hey, they're going to go out. They're not going to go and fulfill a need at the cornerback spot. They're not going to take a playmaker in the first round. They went linebacker. This guy you thought was going to be more ready to play than he's been through 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I think that there are a couple of reasons why he's not being talked about. One, because they've won 2 games in a row. 2, because it was the pass rush. They got the flack on the defensive side last week. He did make a big tackle on Dalvin Cook to save some more yardage. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be growing pains. You mentioned he's not ever going to be the fastest guy. He's a coverage guy, as you mentioned. So it's really going to be on him and Isaiah Simmons to come up with this strategy to where they're both going to be able to play to their strengths. A lot of that's going to have to do with Vance Joseph. And, hopefully they won't get too far behind the curve because as much as the other 8 players on the field that aren't corners in any specific time can do better than what they have in the past, it'll allow for the 11 to look stronger. And that's not necessarily an indictment on Byron Murphy. He jumped a route and he made a mistake. The best corners in the game do that. He jumped a route. He thought he was able to pick off one of the first passes of the game, and Kirk Cousins burned him. I mean, all in all, Byron Murphy's played very well so far for the first 2 weeks.
I agree. I agree. And as far as my concern for Zaven Collins, like if it makes it easier when Jordan Hicks is playing very well through 2 games of the season. The PFF grade's not going to be there, but you and I've seen it. Zaven Collins had a big pass breakup early in the game that was key. Chandler Jones got good pressure. Zaven was able to knock it down in a solid play to get the defense off the field. So you'll take that. If he can kind of find his rhythm, this week 5, down the line, that's just going to be like adding a player to this defense that we saw in week 1 that can be pretty legit. They just got to figure it out. Man, Kirk Cousins was getting the ball out. A lot of credit to Kirk Cousins. He was getting the ball out fast against the Arizona Cardinals. There was like really no opportunity for them to get to him. And their offensive line played a lot better than we expected.
Yeah, I mean, he was having tea parties back there. I was sure that Kirk loves tea. He's like a peppermint. I think he's a peppermint tea guy. Don't you think? Peppermint tea, chamomile, English breakfast if he's feeling frisky. He's a tea guy for sure. Doesn't want to mess with the vocal cords.
He just drinks
just whole milk out of the jug. Yeah, with his fruity pebbles, sure. But yeah, it was a mixture of both, though.
Yeah.
Like, sure, around the goal line, yes. He's taking less time. Marco Wilson falls down for an easy slant to Adam Thielen. But nobody was sniffing. Nobody was sniffing Kirk Cousins, whether he was sitting back there for a minute or getting the ball out Tom Brady style.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was more the latter. I think he was just getting the ball out quicker than the Arizona Cardinals have seen in a long time. He knew exactly where he was going with the ball. And he was just zipping it around there. And the Arizona Cardinals, they were able to kind of figure it out a little bit in the second half, slow things down. It's Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Where did the Arizona Cardinals end up in the latest Locked On Podcast Network rankings and why I'm not concerned about a trap game this Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to get into it. It's Bo and it's Alex. All right, let's take a look at this. As far as DirecTV, I've been talking about this for a long time. I'm excited about it. I enjoyed it all Sunday long because I was going between the Cardinals game and then some of my on-demand favorites. And that's what DirecTV Stream brings to your live TV and on-demand, brings it together like never before. It means you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and TV shows all in one place. And the best part, there's no annual contract. You don't have to get locked in, so stop waiting. There's not going to be a bunch of like guaranteed dead cap money with DirecTV Stream. It's going to get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com.
And I just had my first ever cookie dough Built Bar. It's true. It was absolutely. Have you added it yet? Is your wife stealing all of them still?
No, I hit it.
You hit it. Yeah, because we had an issue with that. There was a mouse in the house with Bo's wife and the Built Bar. True story. Built Bar, BuiltBar.com, Built.com. Like 18 grams of protein, less than 5 grams of sugar. They're all chocolate covered. They've got 9 flavors: coconut, almond, double chocolate, salted caramel, to name a few. There's a couple limited time flavors. Orange and strawberry, 2 of my favorites. The beauty of Built Bar is that they taste good and they're good for you. And Built Bar's doing blind taste tests with candy bars. Almond Joy versus coconut almond, and coconut almond is winning. It's incredible. And for people that live in Phoenix, there's going to be a distribution center in Phoenix in some capacity very soon. So you'll be able to get Built Bar all you want in the comfort of your own home, which is going to be beautiful in about 2 weeks from now. So go to Built.com, write Locked15 to get 15% off your first order. Locked15 for 15% off your first order at Built.com, BuiltBar.com.
Wrapping things up, Locked On Cardinals. Follow us on Twitter at LockedOnAZCards. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Bo. It's Alex. Follow Alex at Clancy's Corner. Follow me at BOBRACK. We appreciate everybody chiming in on each and every episode here. We get to everybody's comments and stuff like that, so we appreciate it. The Arizona Cardinals take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 0-2 to start the season. They lost to the Texans. That was a surprise season opening game, 37-21. Tyrod Taylor balled out. He had nearly 300 yards passing. You had the 3 picks from Trevor Lawrence. I think it was the first time ever in his life, including like Pop Warner, that he's ever thrown 3 picks in a game. Threw 2 more in week 2 in their loss to Teddy Bridgewater in the Denver Broncos. It was another lopsided game. Well, 10-point loss, 23-13. The defense was able to keep him in that game, but Teddy Bridgewater over 300 yards passing in that contest, very efficient in that game. Why this is not going to be a trap game, I think it's pretty simple as far as the Arizona Cardinals. One, they've done pretty well in games where they're overwhelming favorites. If you remember back to the New York Jets game, they just took care of business. They won that game 30-10. I think they were 7-point favorites in that contest. They're 7.5-point favorites right now at betonline.ag. And it's also mostly, Alex, to Kyler Murray's growing leadership. Did you see what he said after the last 2 weeks of football?
I said it. He's frustrated?
Yeah, he said he's frustrated. He said that as far as the offense is concerned, he feels like they can do a lot better. And I'm paraphrasing, but he feels like the offense, he's frustrated by the penalties. It was in an article by Josh Weinfuss, really good, must read, as you can kind of see Kyler Murray continue to take steps forward as the leader of this franchise. And he doesn't want to see the dumb penalties anymore. And he doesn't want to see the dumb mistakes any longer. Included himself in this with the one interception to Nick Vigil. I mean, as long as Kyler Murray, after 2 weeks into the season, isn't content, isn't reading his own press clippings, that's good, especially when you're going up against the team that's hurting like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, and he's not. This isn't quarterback speak, because a lot of times we don't hear a damn quarterback speak. So when he talks, I mean, he means what he's saying, and it's not a homer take. It's a thing we just learned. We went from a dude that we didn't know if he wanted to be here with the number 1 overall pick because he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't talk at Dan Patrick. And then we get to this point now where he's very candid when he does speak, and it's awesome. That's good. And if this just has to be said once and we'll move on. If the Cardinals lose on Sunday, all of this is erased. All of this, everything's erased. It's like they started 1-1 and lost in week 2. Like it's just this would be catastrophic is not the right word, but it would be a wet blanket 3 weeks into the season when you're facing your toughest stretch in 3 games, Rams on the road, 49ers at home, Cleveland on the road. So they need to go in, they need to beat Jacksonville by 20 and get the hell out of there.
It's right.
That's not overstating. That'd be very bad if they lost on Sunday,
especially with who is looming in week 4.
Yeah,
the guy you've never beat ever, Sean McVay, in the Los Angeles Rams on the road at SoFi Stadium. I mean, it's a big game because otherwise you've got to win a game that nobody's going to likely pick you to win. Your odds. I mean, what is it? Over 60% of the teams that start 2-0, but when you go 2-1, you start to drop games that you shouldn't drop. Then you're starting to look a lot like and resemble a lot of the 2020 Arizona Cardinals, and they need to get away from that. They absolutely have to get away from that. So the Arizona Cardinals have a good opportunity. I think Jacksonville can play a little bit better on defense, and they have to take advantage of this rookie quarterback. Like Trevor Lawrence is lost right now. You can't let him get right against your defense, and that defense needs to do a better job than they did in week 2 in getting to Trevor Lawrence, where you look at him, he's, as far as his sack numbers, they're not that high. The interception numbers are pretty high with 5, but he's only been sacked twice, once in each game. So you got to make him uncomfortable.
I mean, Urban Meyer doesn't know what he's doing at the NFL level yet. The defense has looked okay. They're not giving up 40 points a game. They're only running the ball 15 times a game. What are the best friends of a rookie quarterback? A run game, a tight end, or somebody you trust to run and turn around, and a good defense. And does he have any of them? I mean, James Robinson had one good year. They really could use Leonard Fournette right now. Like the fact, I can't believe that they cut bait so quickly. He's just like, I'm pissed, get me out of here. And they just let him go. And they didn't look internally like maybe there's something we could do to better the situation for the 4th overall pick, whatever 5th overall pick that they grabbed him when they drafted him 4th, I think. So it's just a bad situation. It's a Jet situation. It's a Jet situation.
Franchise.
Yeah.
It's 2019. And, it would take week 5 for the Arizona Cardinals to win their first game against Cincinnati. This is what they're going through. It's a college coach trying to feel his way out at the NFL level. But you're not going to get a stretch what the Arizona Cardinals did in 2019 with a rookie quarterback and with a first-year head coach.
Yeah,
where you get the Bengals and you get the Giants, who also had a rookie quarterback then, and the Atlanta Falcons, who like last week missed a big field goal that would have won them the game.
And it's the crazy part, and it's not crazy. I would take Cliff Kingsbury 100% over Urban Meyer. And the reason why you say
that way a couple months ago.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. And this isn't me like, oh, Cliff's the greatest. It's Urban Meyer has always, aside from when he was in Utah, great coaching job, Alex Smith, whatever. Yes, he coached well, okay? But he had the best football teams on the planet in college to coach. Sure, there was competition. There was Nick Saban, blah, blah, blah. Look at those Florida rosters. Mm-hmm. Tim Tebow should. I'm going to be careful.
Wow.
Tim Tebow should go down as a top 5 college football player offensively ever. By sheer numbers, he should.
He was there for so long. And also, why hasn't there been the same success since he left Gainesville or Tallahassee?
Because their teams have been poop. No, he was the reason. After a while, he was the reason why people would go there. Ohio State, sweet mother, those rosters.
He won 80% of his games. Same thing at Ohio State. There wasn't the same success really since Tressel at Ohio State. He was able to kind of recapture. I just think, but is he overmatched at the next level? I mean, it's coaching pros and coaching amateurs, or amateurs. As I do the air quotes on YouTube, it's completely different animal. And Cliff Kingsbury's shown, and you talk about Kyler Murray and how he's candid. That's Cliff Kingsbury kind of empowering his players. Even Jordan Hicks, we saw him talk at the podium in training camp about how he wanted out, and now he's playing well. And it's like Cliff Kingsbury gives these guys the ability to go out and say and speak their mind. I think there's something to that. Real quick, before we get out of here, here's your power rankings. Arizona Cardinals are up 2 spots from 10th to 8th. They're 2-0. They're ahead of the Browns at 1-1, but ahead of them are the Seahawks, who dropped the game. Brutal loss for the Seahawks at home. Big lead against the Tennessee Titans, and the Niners, who have beat Philly team that was in the top 5 picking in this past offseason in the NFL draft, and they beat the Detroit Lions, who were in the top 10 picking. I mean, come on. The 49ers, they squeaked by the Eagles 17-11, and they almost blew a lead against the Detroit Lions. But people are still just slurping the Kool-Aid. It's unbelievable. And the Seahawks lost the game. They lost. But they're ahead of the Cardinals.
I mean, but the Cardinals shouldn't have lost. They shouldn't have won. Like, I get a little. San Francisco is not a top 6 team. No way. Where? You're their starting running back next week. Like, all of their players are hurt. And it's like, oh, man, if only our players could stay healthy. You drafted and signed players who are injury prone. What makes you think that you're going to wear that awful red and gold? It's like, you know what? Everything's fixed.
Yeah.
Everything's fixed.
If we would just stay healthy. If we just could. If only you could just remove that from the game, from this violent sport. If only you could remove health as a factor, we win every game. Like, okay, cool. All right, let's go. ESPN had the Cardinals at 7. We're going to talk to our guy Tony Wiggins. It's coming up tomorrow. Our crossover, one of the most entertaining hosts on the Locked On Podcast Network. And he doesn't sugarcoat things. He's been covering this Jags team for a long time, and he calls most of his episodes therapy. And it's a safe place for Jaguar fans to go and vent about their team. And you thought it was going to be different. It's no different. And I can't wait to hear Tony's thoughts on it. Check us out tomorrow here on the Locked On Podcast Network. That's going to do it for us. Follow Alex at Clancy's Corner. Follow me at BOBRECK. And follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. You guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Crossover Thursday.